Hey guys, Common Man. All right, you're about to see my rant talking about everyone else's rants. This is just a take, my take on a situation that's in the news right now that I don't feel like anyone else is giving this take. And part of what I want to point out is Sandy Monroe yesterday did a really spectacular rant on this whole situation. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about how Elon basically laid off the entire Supercharger team of about 500 people. That's what appears to be the case. And the mainstream media is certainly depicting this as a horrible, crazy, stupid move on Tesla's part, and it feeds into the narrative of EVs are not working out, that gas-powered cars are still the way to go, and maybe EVs will be the future, but that's a long way off. Anyway, so laying off this entire team, it is easy to think, wow, this is bad news, and wow, this is stupid, and wow, this is rash. But as Sandy says, and by the way, check the show notes for a link to his rant, which you really have to see. It's a thing of beauty. But the mainstream media is going off the deep end on this in a negative way, which is pretty typical. Anything to do with Tesla or Elon, that's where they go. And you're a witness to my rant on this whole thing. So the Tesla community is a bit mixed. Some people within the community, I would definitely consider Sandy Monroe to be basically impartial, but he does recognize that Tesla is such a strong leader. So he's a part of the Tesla community, absolutely and for sure. So his take on this is very strong in terms of supporting Elon, and that he feels like this makes sense. A lot of people in the Tesla community are going the opposite direction, or they're just like basically confused and left thinking that this just doesn't make any sense. But where I think it makes sense is, I think at a minimum, anyone from the Tesla community should be saying, look, this, at worst, they might say something like, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't see where Elon's coming from. But then again, he knows a lot that I don't know. That's about the worst thing I think anyone should say. And I think that it's key to acknowledge that Elon knows more than anyone else. So to trust Elon is a big part of my take. And I also think there's obvious things that maybe just aren't being said. For example, I'm going to go as far as to say, I'm not sure of this, but I'm going to go as far as to say there's enough chargers out there for the current situation. And if they were more utilized, we might have enough superchargers for, honestly, many years to come. If you go buy a Tesla supercharger and there's 8 stalls, 16 stalls, whatever, are most of them full most of the time? No. So I bet there are things that could be done to make it over time so that they are full most of the time. Not I don't think we want full, but because then if you are desperate for a charge, then you run into a line, and this is obviously a bummer. But I think there are ways that through technology and through offering deals to people that you could fill these chargers much more so than they are now. So if there was, if the cheapest power, which by the way, power is, if you think about it, effectively is free, except for at peak moments when it's very expensive, because when the entire grid isn't being used, they actually need people to take some of that energy. So if during those times when there is a lot of excess power in the grid, it would actually be beneficial, and you could, this is a slight exaggeration, but you could almost pay people to go take power. So obviously we're not going to pay people to take power per se, but there are certain times of the year and the 24-hour cycle of a day and things like that, where power is abundant and where power is scarce. So when power is scarce, then you end up with brownouts and blackouts and all that sort of thing. But when it's abundant, we want people charging up their cars. What gets people to go charge their cars when power is abundant? We'll offer them a great deal. So if it was ultra cheap to charge your car in the middle of the night or on a Sunday or whatever it is, then people would do it. Especially if it was cheap enough. So I think there's a lot of that kind of thing that could be going on, and no one's talking about that. Everyone's just talking about how there's more EVs coming online and we have to keep building chargers like crazy. Nobody knows that to be for sure true. I would think in my opinion, it's kind of obvious that the opposite is likely true, and that possibly what Elon was thinking is, hey, look, this department within Tesla has been doing a great job of pumping out great superchargers for a long time. Fantastic. But why aren't they doing more creative things using technology to get these superchargers full and being utilized more? Because Tesla is known for having great equipment and it being reliable. And when you pull up to a supercharger, you're going to get charged very nicely, versus the rest of the chargers that are not Tesla chargers are notoriously unreliable. You pull up, there might be a bank of 4 of them and only one works, and it's a huge hassle. You have to get a new membership at this different place, EVgo and everything else. So you end up having to carry around all sorts of memberships just to charge, and they're slow and they're unreliable, and there's a line because there's only one charger working, and on and on and on. Anyway, so Tesla's got great equipment. They have been able to stay ahead of the curve. They're building more and more and more cars, but they're not, and so the number of cars out there just keeps growing, and even exponentially. So, but they've been able to stay ahead of that curve because they've been putting out so many superchargers. Anyway, I think, plus with robo-taxis on the way, who knows how they're going to manage these systems. It could be fleet, the owners of fleets of robo-taxis that want these, they want superchargers in their charging warehouses or however that works. And we just don't know. There's a lot of changes coming, and I think Elon knows a lot more than we do, meaning everyone that doesn't work at Tesla, and even everyone that works at Tesla. Elon knows more than everyone that works at Tesla because he's at the top. He gets information about everything, and other folks at Tesla tend to focus in their department specifically, so nobody knows as much as Elon, is sort of my bottom line. Anyway, what I think is that the current situation appears pretty messy, and I'm not saying it isn't a bit messy, but what's really going on, we don't know yet, and we need to calm down, take a step back, wait and see, and trust Elon. And I think the future is going to be quite bright. So hang in there. All right. Thanks. That's all for now.